That video that you show where that thing slips off to the left and takes off at incredible rates of speed, that alone should freak people the fuck out.
We watched it for 5 minutes with our eyeballs, and there was 4 of us, and we all have the same story. We all saw the same stuff. We all came back and looked at each other and scratched our head and said, WTF, serious? What was that? And then what do? You move on. We never saw it again. There was an incident it's probably not too far off the same time frame, but I think it was the Constellation was doing her workups before she got decommissioned, and a Soviet Oscar-class submarine surfaced behind her, right? And then it's like, go to battle stations, World War III. How did this foreign submarine get in our area and has been monitoring our workups? That's a big deal.
Right.
I said, but now we go out and we have these things that are coming at will, and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't know what they are. We have confirmed sighting by 2 aircrew, 4 of us, 2 planes, that said, look, this is not an airplane, this is not a weather balloon, this is not a blip, it has performance well beyond, and the airplanes that we were flying at the time were literally brand new Super Hornets right out of the Boeing factory. I mean, these were brand new, first Block 2 series that came out. Well, I'm pretty sure there's still people looking at this, and there's still people that are taking this serious. I will tell you that, I won't get into specifics, but there are people inside the United States government that are taking this serious. And I've went down to D.C. twice to talk to folks, behind closed doors, to go, because they want to hear the story. It is real. What are you doing about it?
So what kind of people are you talking to?
High-level government officials is what I'll say. And most of that is because that conversation is between me and them, and I don't want people speculating, but you can say high-level government officials I have talked to.
Working on this UFO documentary, he thinks you should look into this landing case that happened in Africa at the school. And I said to myself at the time, and remind you guys that I was making a film on UFOs, and I dismissed it so quickly because I thought, there's no way that a mass landing with the sheer volume of eyewitness testimony at a school in broad daylight could happen and the whole world not know about it. So I just walked away from that story for about 10 years. 10 years later, I'm doing an event at the National Press Club with Leslie Kane, and she introduced me to this guy, Randall Nickerson. And she's like, oh, he's working on this landing case in Africa. Long story short, he's working on a film now, I think it's coming out next year, specifically on just that case. Dan Farah is producing it. And he said, I'm working on the case, and if you want to do something with me on it, a small piece, I could. So I got back into it. So I contacted the Institute with the help of Randall Nickerson. I licensed the archival footage. We tracked down the witnesses today. We flew them in from all different corners of the world, brought them together. A lot of them were standing right next to each other. They came face to face, and one of the things I've realized was that there were roughly 100 kids in the playground, broad daylight, aerial school, Ruwa, Zimbabwe, 1994, and they got within arms, some of them within arm's length of these beings, and brought these witnesses together for the first time in 20 years. And a lot of them hadn't even told their significant others, just because they said they were tired of having to defend this.
We're headed out, and I looked up ahead, and I saw this kind of glow coming through the trees. First, I thought, no big deal, it was deer hunting season. But when we burst into the clearing where we could see the source of this glow, it was just, whoa, it was just mind-blowing instantly. I thought it was just going to take off, be gone in a flash. And
So when
we weren't the only ones that saw it, we found out later. Sheriff had on file people who were in the area that saw it, hunters and fishermen over there at Black Canyon Lake. And the movement that they described was what the crew described when it left.
what did they describe?
They described this glow rising up and streaking off, I believe they said, toward the northeast. Found out later that there was more official investigation that nobody talked about at the time.
Now, what do you remember When you're going through your mind and you're trying, I mean, this is a story you've told so many times, and this is a story that's been turned into a film, which it's got to be very surreal. But when you look into your memories and you try to go back to that day,
But it's unforgettable. And there's
what do you remember seeing when you ran into the clearing?
well, the whole clearing was lit up with this weird glow. It looked really pretty eerie, you know.
And did it seem to come from a specific part of the craft, or?
Most of the surface seemed to be glowing. There were darker areas that didn't give off light, but
So what did the craft itself look like?
it was a classic disc-shaped craft. I don't remember names, but this guy was saying that he worked at Area 51, and they had something in there. He worked with the Tester Model Corporation to create a model of what he was describing. And that's actually the closest of any of the other descriptions I've seen. But I don't think these things have just one type of craft. I think there's many different shapes.
What makes you think that?
Well, personal experience, but I've seen the glowing sphere. I've seen the giant black triangle. My brother Dwayne saw a craft. It was kind of tic-tac shaped, and that's something that's been observed by, in military reports recently.
Yeah. So you see this disc-shaped craft,
Yeah.
and then what happens?
It started to move and started to get louder. And then there were other high-pitched frequencies. The increase in volume, it suddenly got louder as it started to move. And, at the same time, the guys in the truck were screaming, "Get away from there, let's go, get back in the truck, let's go." And, which would have been the smart thing to do. But as soon as it moved, it startled me. And I just ducked for cover. There, I got down behind this log, and they were screaming, "Let's go, let's go, let's go." Didn't need to be told. I was just gonna, stand up and run away. But see, when I jumped for cover, I went down and forward to reach where the log would hide me. So when I stood up, at that point, that was the closest I was to the object. That was when the energy discharge happened. Maybe just closing that gap allowed this energy to leap to ground through me.
What do you remember from that moment on?
When I regained consciousness, it wasn't real quick. It wasn't real woken right up. It was real slow. It was dim. It was kind of like in and out for a while. I didn't know where I was. The pain and the feeling that I was mortally wounded, something was so wrong inside. I felt like I was dying. And this is what really fueled the panic when I finally laid eyes on these creatures.
Where were you?
I was lying on my back on a raised table. There was a light above me. It was not so bright that I couldn't, see the outline of the fixture, but
What did the fixture look like?
just a soft glow. And in the movie, there's a little bit of striking on the part of the aliens against me. That didn't happen. I lashed out at them. The one closest to me, I felt really weak. I didn't have enough strength to do much. So when my arm contacted him, he just fell back very unexpectedly easy into the other one. And I rolled off the table in the other direction. They came around the table, and the three of them were coming towards me. And I just grabbed something from behind me, looking at them, and swinging wildly, screaming threats. They stopped.
What did they look like?
I guess it's a pretty typical description nowadays. Very large eyes, hairless. I didn't see them speak or no change in the expressions. And to me, that in the face of all the screaming and the fear that I was projecting, their lack of reaction probably just added to my panic. But
Did they feel like they were a living creature, or did they feel like they were a robot? Like,
well, they were without expression, I'll say that.
did they look like smooth, like they had no clear muscles?
Yeah, they were pretty smooth, very light. When I hit the one, it fell back into the other one pretty easily, like he weighed hardly anything.
Like a little kid?
Yeah. That was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Or do you think maybe they do it because we can't handle it? Because we can't handle it.
Why would they care if we could handle it or not?
Because here's the problem. Whenever any civilization has ever encountered a civilization far superior to them, the results have always been catastrophic every single time. Every time Europeans have invaded North America, every time the Spanish visited the Mexicans, every time that this has happened, it's been a disaster. And this is human beings. If there was something that came down here from another planet and was so unbelievably sophisticated that it could travel through vast distances in space and had insurmountable, impossible technology, that we would look to it for all of our answers. It would become our new daddy. It would completely disrupt all of our governments. It would disrupt all of our religions. It would disrupt every single belief system we have. And people would fall apart. They wouldn't know what to do. Psychologically, it would be devastating.
That, but why would they care?
Because
that's my whole point.
Because
why would they care about
because
us?
They would be affecting our culture.
But they wouldn't care.
But why wouldn't they care?
But why would they care?
We care about animals, bro. There's a reason why
Yeah.
we have wildlife protection agencies. We have that because we care about animals. And animals don't even know we're a thing. Okay, if you're a deer living in the forest and you're 2 years old, you might not have ever even seen a person. You don't even know what the fuck we are. But we're trying to keep those deer alive. We spend billions of dollars every year protecting them. We do that because we care about wildlife. If we cared about a rare monkey that we found in Indonesia, for some strange monkey, we would do whatever we could to make sure that monkey's populations thrived. If there was a way to help them, I mean, that's one of the reasons why zoos exist. They take rare animals, they try to breed them in captivity.
But we're also sharing the same Earth.
Well, then maybe they look at the universe that way, and maybe they look at nuclear civilizations like our civilization. I mean, our civilization's a very dangerous one because we're a bunch of semi-hairless monkeys with nuclear weapons. I mean, we're fucking nuts, bro.
Oh yeah.
And
So
we're crazy.
you're thinking aliens are thinking about all that before they come down.
Of course they would.